Hello, everybody. It is Dr. Jamar Montgomery
CJ the Smart Guy.
and we are Genius and Smart Guy here talking about all things politics, culture, tech, and specifically and particularly crypto. We have the smartest, biggest brain when it comes to crypto taxes here sitting next to me, and it's such an honor to be sharing the stage with this brother. He's the one person that I trust with crypto taxes. When I was looking for a CPA that focuses on crypto, this was the man that I found, and I haven't found anybody else that has been able to break down crypto and taxes as simply as him. And it's clear that he's a professional. And you know what? When you making your crypto money, when aping out and getting your gains and all of that, make sure that you cop you a nice J. Montgomery. Such a beautiful thing that we got there.
They don't know about that.
Once again, they say new money gets a Rolex, old money gets a Patek, but smart money gets a J. Montgomery.
Definitely.
And, I'm with the smart guy over here, and he's smart. You know what I'm saying? Look at that. That's smart money right there with the J. Montgomery on. Bruh, what's going on? How you feeling, bruh?
I feel good, man. I feel blessed. How about yourself?
Good, man. I'm feeling incredibly well. And it's been a lot that has been going on in crypto lately. I expected to hear, I expected to hear presidents and presidential candidates be talking about crypto, but I wouldn't have it wasn't on my bingo card that President Trump was going to be speaking at Bitcoin 24.
It was, for me. I've been talking about this for a couple years now. I saw that Bitcoin and crypto was going to be, I don't know which episodes, but I'm on record saying that this election was going to be a cryptocurrency / Bitcoin election. And I figured he'd be speaking, especially since JFK has done it before. And
RFK. Or JFK?
RFK.
RFK,
my bad.
RFK.
That was his uncle.
Absolutely.
I figured that it was eventually going to happen, but the excitement around it is beyond what I was expecting with the ETFs and Wall Street, and it seems as though a lot more players are in it than ever before.
Yeah, I can see that. It's crazy because when I met with Trump, I was talking about blockchain and talking about crypto back in 2022 and talking about NFTs, and it was just interesting to see that he put out his NFTs, and then he's got his showing up at the rally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's even got like Bitcoin shoes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was interesting. But to see him giving a speech at Bitcoin 24 was like, okay, this is front and center.
He's championing it now.
He's championing it. Yeah. He's championing it. And shout out to whatever lobbying team, whoever the organizers at Bitcoin 24 that was able to get President Trump to come. What I do know is that whoever got him to come or whatever group got him to come broke him off with a check.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's the thing, as I've been talking about, you cannot be talking about how much money that you're making in crypto and not make sure that your politicians get some.
Correct.
Those are wise words from someone that was known as the crypto politician. I don't know who that would be.
And we all know that was Doc. Come on, man.
But yeah, man, I know it was crazy because I expected to see you at the Bitcoin 24 conference, but you were at the Urban League.
Correct.
Right? I know, were you able to watch any of his?
Yeah.
Okay, so what were your thoughts?
First, give it context. 2017, Trump knew about Bitcoin because it was in the Mueller report in terms of doing the transactions with Russia and all that they were using Bitcoin. So he was very aware of it. And so when he's talking about that it's fake money or that he doesn't want it to replace the dollar because he's a pro-dollar guy, I understood that he was looking at Bitcoin as alternative currency to avoid whatever consequences he was looking at. And so I think that now in 2024, he's realizing, oh, it's okay to go public with this because it's legalized. It's not saying it was ever illegal, but it's becoming normalized. The ETFs, I think, really gave it a foundation. There were some good things that he said, some things that I was like, scratching my head at. I think overall it's great that he was there. I think some of the great things that he said was he was going to fire Gary Gensler. I don't know how possible that is, but just knowing how Trump operates, he'll figure out a way to probably get that done.
Yeah.
I think that it was a good thing that he said he was going to free Russ Albright. I'm a part of a nonprofit called Bitcoin Transformation Community, where we go and educate people who are in prisons about Bitcoin, and we try to provide them with jobs so they don't go back in.
Yeah.
And so I think that goes with that mission. I also think that it was good that he said that he was going to keep a certain amount of Bitcoin that the government already owned as a strategic reserve. I think that was a great idea. So overall, I think those were great. I think it was crazy that he took credit for the price going up. When I heard that, I was like, you're embellishing a little bit.
That's
But
typical Trump.
typical Trump, I expected that. And the one thing I will say I did not like was that he said that they were going to use a lot of fossil fuels for Bitcoin mining. I think that's terrible for the environment. I believe that Bitcoin mining is a great thing, but the way that it's set up is that it should only be profitable if you're using renewable energy. If you're drilling into oil, and he made jokes saying, hey, we have too much electricity, of course he's probably embellishing again. However, I don't think that we should be using fossil fuels for Bitcoin mining. I think that's terrible for the environment. One other good thing he said is no central bank digital currencies. I think that's enormous. But yeah, that was my take on Trump speaking. I watched the whole thing, even when I was in Louisiana. I missed a couple pictures because
Yeah.
I was watching it, but I had to get that in real time. So.
Yeah. To see him kind of shift his stance on Bitcoin, it's okay, you're coming up with the times. But when he became an actual user of the technology, when he put out his NFTs,
Yeah.
I was like, okay,
Yeah.
you're embracing the technology, and whoever his advisors are, like President Trump. We talked about that November and Thanksgiving 2022. I don't know why you didn't have me on the team, but it's all good. It's all good. I understand you was mad at Kanye. It's all good. You don't have to be mad at me though.
Why is he mad at Kanye again?
Bruh, Kanye asked this man to be his vice president. I'm sitting there. We're going there for this dinner, for this nice Thanksgiving dinner. Trump invited Kanye to come over there. We're eating dinner, and Kanye asks. We're sitting at the table. I'm sitting here, right here. Kanye's like right here. He's literally right next to me. Mick Fuentes is right here. And he asks Trump, he says, that's interesting. He was talking about his campaign and stuff. And he's like, what do you think about the vice president? And Trump was like, oh, you be my vice president? And Trump leaned back and Kanye was like, no, you be mine. Bruh, like the energy on the patio, because we out on the patio, like just instantly changed. I said, bruh, Kanye said he was going to do it, but it was one of those things of, we were on our way to Mar-a-Lago. We're on our way, so we're driving it's rainy. It's rainy. And, Kanye is in the front seat. It's me and Nick Fuentes in the back. And Kanye is leaning back. Yeah, so this is what I'm going to do. And he leans back. He's like, I'm going to ask Trump to be my vice president. I look at Nick. I look at Kanye. I look back at Nick. I said, all right, we're about to see if he's going to do this. And sure as hell, he did it. And I was like, bruh, I just witnessed this. Trump was hot. You don't have the votes. You can't get the votes. Blah, blah, blah. Oh,
he was saying that?
You done pissed this man off. I'm watching a president be pissed off to the highest level of pissivity right now. Bruh. Yeah. That was a real thing. But yeah, man, to see that, to experience that, to watch Trump utilize NFTs and then speak at Bitcoin 24, I'm not a single issue voter. But crypto is definitely high on my list.
Yeah.
And then to see RFK, right? Because RFK, he made a video address.
He was there.
Okay, so that's...
Yeah. So during the debate, It was a video, but during
Okay.
the actual Bitcoin conference, he was there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Because I like RFK.
Now Elon wasn't there. That was some made up Twitter stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
So how was that with RFK? Because I didn't watch.
So RFK is a actual true Bitcoiner. You could tell that Trump was given some
Talking points.
talking
That's
points.
that's the vibe that I got.
Yeah, RFK is a true Bitcoiner, and he was more aggressive with it. He was saying that he wanted to have, I believe it was 1 million Bitcoins for the US reserve. He wanted to make it a reserve asset against the US dollar. So he was a lot more aggressive with it. It was great watching both of them up there. RFK made a couple jokes, made a couple jokes talking about Trump's hair being orange
Yeah.
and things like that. But overall, it was actually just a really great thing to watch two potential presidents or, candidates for sure at the Bitcoin conference, being pro Bitcoin, both trying to champion it and knowing enough information to be able to get the crowd going.
Got you.
I think that was great. Once again, I was at the Urban League conference. I didn't go to the actual Bitcoin conference, but I watched both of these in full depth on my phone, and I watched Trump speak, live from my phone.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just great. I think that RFK is a true Bitcoiner. I think that Trump will probably come around because it normally takes an amount of time to really understand it.
Yeah.
And I think once he understands it, he might be more aggressive. It was interesting though, because the second that he said that whatever Bitcoin the US already owned, they would use as a strategic reserve asset. And it was maybe almost like less than 2 days later, the governments, I think they own 210,000 Bitcoins, they all moved it to Coinbase. So it feels like a sabotage against what he was saying. I don't know if it's been sold or whatnot,
Yeah.
but that was reported within 2 days. And it was like, wow, why would you sell it right before he said he was going to make it a reserve, a strategic reserve asset? Felt kind
Yeah.
of political.
Yeah. I feel that. I feel that. So if you had to pick between Trump and RFK for Bitcoin, based upon their stance on crypto, who would you be choosing?
I would choose RFK
Okay.
for sure, without a doubt, because he's a true Bitcoiner.
Yeah.
Do I think he's going to win the election as a third party? No.
Yeah.
So will he get my vote? Probably not. However, if he were to be the head of Treasury or the head of finance or something like that, I'd be really happy. I don't think it's going to happen, but if that were to happen, I feel as though we'd be in great hands. I don't think there's another politician outside of maybe Cynthia Lummis of Wyoming that would be a better champion for Bitcoin than RFK.
Got you. Got you. Okay. Okay. We talked about Trump, RFK. What was missing is not seeing Kamala's.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the deal, right?
I thought Kamala was hit. I thought she was on the in crowd. I thought she was with the cool kids. Or am I mistaken?
We don't know yet.
What you mean you don't know? We 90 some odd, 80 some odd days away from election. What do you mean we don't know yet?
All right. So we know that the Democrats, the majority of, not all, because Cory Booker and Gillibrand, they're pro Bitcoin, pro crypto. But the vast majority of the Democrats have been against crypto. Definitely Elizabeth Warren. She's the worst, if you ask me.
Senator Warren, do better. I'm saying this as one of your students who studied your bankruptcy book. Do better. It's my public service announcement.
Yeah. If the Democrats had been against it, Joe Biden was definitely against. He vetoed one of the bills that was going to separate all the power away from the SEC, and it was actually a joint effort. It was bipartisan. You had Democrats and Republicans agreeing on this, and he vetoed it.
A bipartisan bill.
He vetoed a bipartisan bill. That would have been the first crypto bill to pass as law. That I think would have simplified some things and made things better, but he vetoed it. And Kamala has never really mentioned too much about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency at all. So we don't know. The reason I give her a little grace for
Okay.
not showing up is because it was only a couple days after it was announced that she'd be running for president. It was only like Biden had just stepped down. So it was like that turnover was very quick.
It seemed like a coup to me, but
I
nobody
mean,
asked
hey,
me.
look, you might be right. I just give her a little bit of grace because of the quick turnaround. And if that's not something that she's very well informed on, it would have been probably a political disaster for her to try to champion something that she knew nothing about. And she may be against it. We don't know yet.
Is that an excuse though for a vice president?
I don't really believe in excuses. I just, I try to
I
give her a little
do.
grace.
I believe in excuses. I believe that excuses are the tools of the weak and incompetent.
Yeah.
They build monuments of nothingness and bridges to nowhere, and
Yeah.
those that use them will never amount to anything.
Yeah.
So,
I know the remix to that. And I agree with it in totality.
I say that because this has been something the Biden administration has issued out an executive order, right? Vetoed a bipartisan bill
Yeah.
that came across his desk, and for Vice President Harris to not have a position on digital assets is very alarming to me. Not on the sense of it's almost if she doesn't have a position or a policy that are already thought out in that sense, is the vice president there just in case something happens to the president and they continue out that, what the president was doing?
Yeah.
Or does the vice president always have their own policy agenda around?
Yeah.
So just in case they're the next person up.
Yeah. I mean, as of right now, she hasn't really released any of her policies. I think as of right now, we know she's pro LGBTQ,
Pro abortion.
pro abortion. I don't really know too much. I've been to a rally when I was in Detroit.
Okay, how was that?
So, one, it's a lie if anybody says that she doesn't have support. I mean, people were out there by the mass. It was like 50,000 people. But she spoke for less than 30 minutes. And the vast majority of her speaking was anti-Trump rhetoric. And most of the time that she was talking, it was about abortion and it was about LGBTQ. When it came down to the economy, there wasn't too much talk. I know she's talked about providing $25,000 for first-time home buyers. I know
Which is a
that
good thing.
that's a great thing if
Yeah.
that is the truth.
Yeah.
I would love to have $25,000 free dollars for my first house.
Absolutely. 100%.
I don't necessarily just believe that's going to happen. I know she's also talked about the child tax credit and bringing that back and giving a lot of money to families. But out of all those things, the only thing that personally would benefit me would be the $25 for first house.
Yeah.
Abortion, I'm not really active for that to happen right now, so it doesn't really affect me. I'm not a part of the LGBTQ family at all. I have friends that are, but I'm not. And I don't have any kids for a tax credit. So most of those things don't affect me whatsoever. I really wish she would come out with a stance on Bitcoin. And even the DNC, they just came out and there's no mention of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, whereas the RNC, they've clearly said that we're pro Bitcoin, we're pro crypto, and we're anti central bank digital currency, which is everything that I would want. The RNC has already come out and said that they're going to champion it.
Okay. All right. So, central bank digital currencies. Well, before I get there, Kamala Harris. Yes. I'm glad that you said that she has a lot of support, right? Because it's very important for people to deal in facts and not just talking out the side of their neck. I just think that it's being that she's the younger of all of the the three candidates that
Are still around.
are still around, right? That she's she's the youngest.
59?
Yeah, 59. That she's not involved in crypto. Like I said, my mama is older than her.
Yeah.
And is involved in crypto, right? Been to crypto conferences, is involved in crypto, supporting crypto. The people that were in the Black Crypto Club are her age, are her contemporaries, are involved in crypto. People who are going to be voting for her are involved in crypto. So this is a very important issue, but she's not She doesn't even have a position on it. And I think that's very alarming, given that President Trump, RFK have spoken on it. And I mean, did you have any? I'm pretty sure that you reached out to the campaign.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. So when Biden was in office, I was a never Biden person. I want that to be very clear. All the stuff he did with the crime bill in the 90s, he wrote the crime bill. He basically was trying to lock up, I feel like he was trying to lock up all the young black Americans, basically saying he didn't care what we had gone through or why the way we were. He's tried to increase the amount of prisons. He tried to, not just try, he helped increase the amount of people in prisons. He helped with the 3 strikes. He helped with the disparity between crack and cocaine. And so I've always felt like he was one of the worst politicians for black Americans. I would say since Ronald Reagan, he might arguably be worse because Ronald Reagan actually turned down one of Biden's bills because he said, we don't want to spend that much money on that many prisons to lock up that many people.
So it was an economic decision.
It was an economic decision, but that's just crazy that you have somebody who's trying to write a bill to increase the amount of prison population that much that even a guy like Ronald Reagan would say, no, that costs too much money.
Yeah.
So I was a never Biden person. And when it was Biden versus Trump, I was leaning towards Trump in the first place. But when Kamala came in, it was like, hold up. I was rooting for Kamala in the primaries when it was Kamala versus Biden. And I thought she was devouring him.
Yep.
And when the DNC saw that, they shut her up.
Yep.
And I think that they shut her up and said, hey, we'll give you vice president. But we know vice presidents don't really have too much power outside of if there's a tie for a vote, they vote that in. Normally it's along party lines.
President of the Senate.
Yeah. And then, just what happened though, if the president steps down or the president passes away, then the vice president normally takes over. So now we actually have her coming into the power. And so
You think so?
I think that running for president, having the Democratic nomination, I think that's power.
I can see that. I can
Yeah.
see that. I mean, Biden's still running the country, so
Is
they
he?
say.
Is he?
That's what they say. I haven't seen a resignation letter from President Biden,
Yeah.
and I have not seen the 25th Amendment being invoked.
True. Technically. Yeah. Yeah.
But definitely, he's not. He doesn't have the nomination.
Correct.
That much is clear. That much is clear.
Yeah.
But you were saying about Kamala Harris and
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
you reaching out to the campaign to help.
So there's been a lot. When she took over, the energy skyrocketed.
Yep.
There was a lot of energy, particularly amongst black women, that were like, oh, we have to save the country. We have one of us running. And as somebody who's pro-black, pro-women, definitely pro-black women, it was like, okay, let me give it a chance. Now, I am a one-issue voter. I feel as though Bitcoin is freedom money, and I feel as though money has been used to oppress black Americans for years. And as a CPA, I'm seeing this, and I'm like, look, if Bitcoin is the escape from the oppression, we need somebody who's not going to put barriers to access to
Yep.
Bitcoin. And so I immediately was like, hey, how can I get involved? And I was told that if you don't express your support for her first, then we don't want your help. Now, I don't know if that came directly from her. I don't know where the hierarchy comes from, but for me, it felt like a cult type of thing. And I was
Okay.
like, I'm trying to help. There's not too many CPAs, period, that understand this. I know the value I bring. You're really going to exclude me unless I automatically give you support. And I talked about it with a couple professionals, a couple people, some women that actually went to Howard, that are lawyers, that see themselves in Kamala. And it was like, hey, it's politics. And so for me, it's if I'm not wanted, give you a little backdrop. Naja Roberts, who I went on tour with for 2 years, Maxine Waters, who is a part of her district, a black woman, did not even want to listen to Naja whatsoever. And Maxine Waters was the head of the finance committee
Yeah.
on the Democratic Party. So outside of Cory Booker and Gillibrand, the vast majority of the Democrats refused to listen to us, refused to do anything. And even some of the politicians I somewhat like, they came out with bills that were terrible. So it was like, what's really going on?
Yeah.
And so after that with Kamala, it's just, I'm kind of just sad because, man, I'm being rejected by the same people that are saying if you don't vote for, their party or you're not black. I'm trying and you're not listening to me. Am I valued, or are you just wanting my vote without actually valuing me? And I'm the type of person that doesn't like to be anywhere that I'm not wanted or valued.
Valued as a professional, valued as a CPA, valued as a black man, valued as a voter, as valued, what do you mean?
All of those, but really the value that I bring is being a crypto-based CPA.
Okay. Yeah.
This whole DEI type of thing, it's kind of weird because I keep hearing people saying they keep fighting for a spot at the seat, like a seat at the table. And to me, I'm like, if you're the expert, you shouldn't have to fight for a seat at the table. One, you should be invited. And two, if you're not invited, you should be able to create your own table with your expertise.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of person, I've traveled around the country. I've got multiple politicians reaching out to me saying, hey, can we learn about this? Multiple executives, multiple millionaires, multiple billionaires at this point, asking me, hey, what's the tax ramifications? What can I do for this? What can I do for that? And so to try to volunteer and to give my knowledge to a party and then to be rejected as, if you don't express your support first, meaning your brand doesn't matter to us, we just want everything.
Yeah.
No, because Trump's party didn't do that. They never said, hey, you have to show your support.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where it's, okay, you're a CPA, hey, cool. Now, it wasn't Trump directly, but it's the hierarchies,
Yeah.
and they're like, hey, we want to know your expertise. And they take the expertise. They never said I had to vow, basically, to be a part of it. They just want the information, and they take it for face value, and they use it however they want. Because at the end of the day, I just want to make sure there's no barriers to entry
Yeah.
to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
This isn't about my money. This isn't about power. This is about ensuring that our community has access to what I believe is the best invention for Black Americans since the cotton gin.
The best invention for Black Americans since the cotton gin.
Yes, sir.
Cotton gin was invented during slavery.
Correct. And how did slavery begin? Mercantilism. When the values of money change, it creates havoc. And when that havoc happens, wars break out, slaveries happen, everything switches. And
Yeah.
right now we're in the middle of a new form of mercantilism because the money is evolving, it's changing.
Yeah.
How it ends up, I don't know, but I recognize mercantilism.
When the changes are happening.
Correct.
Dang. You know, that's, I guess, you know, once again, I'm not a single issue voter, right? I'm not a single issue voter, but that kind of resonates with me in terms of, are you being seen as are you just being seen as a vote, or are you valued as a person? Are you
Correct.
valued as a professional? And what I have seen is that, particularly with the Democratic Party, is that I feel like much of what Black people have to offer is taken for granted, or not, or discarded, in terms of they will have a Cardi B, Quavo, Meg Thee Stallion, but they won't meet with the Ice Cube.
Yeah.
They won't meet with the Dr. Claude Anderson. They
Yeah.
won't meet with the Dr. Boyce Watkins. They won't meet with the Dr. Jamar Montgomerys. They won't meet with the CJ the Smart Guys, right? You know what I mean? So I find that very disheartening. Whereas with the Trump administration, there's more accessibility.
Which is wild. Because you wouldn't think that if you watch the media.
You wouldn't, right? And then just to be demonized, it's villainized for saying, "Hey, I'm actually considering voting for Trump," right? It's just interesting, as in, "Hey, these are the issues that are important to me." And for people who are single issue voters, like Bitcoiners, and it's you're not even speaking to me. So what that doesn't, whether I'm black, white, Mexican, Asian, or whatever, that all of a sudden that I have an issue with black women just because
Yeah,
this person, this candidate who happens to be a black woman, is not speaking to my issues.
correct. And also, I'm from California, just like yourself. And the
Yeah.
sentiment back home, and I've talked to a lot of people, black, white, male, female, and the vast majority do not like Kamala. Now, I don't know if she deserves all the hate that she gets in California. However,
Have you asked why?
yes. And the majority of them are like, okay, so this is one thing that she did, and she's on record of saying it, is that she saw that there were a lot of people who were going back to prisons, and she wanted to stop the continuous flow of getting out, going back in, getting out, going back in. And she saw that, I think she said 94% of them had been very truant in school. And so she made a law that said if the kids are truant, the parents get locked up. And in that same interview, you can Google it.
Yeah.
It was an interview that she said to Google, and she said that she made this law because she was trying to lower the amount of people going back to prisons. So overall, I think her heart was correct. However, I got my behind beat multiple times because the school would call and say I was absent when I was late. And I think the parents were freaked out because it's like, hey, if I'm getting these calls, you're trying to get me locked up. And so it created a lot of division between some of the families.
Yeah,
And
I didn't
even,
think about it.
yeah, and even in her interview, she said that, you know, upon discovery, a lot of those parents were single parent moms and they were working two jobs and they didn't have time to watch over their kids.
They had baby's kids.
But some of those kids were actually going to work.
Yeah.
So if you got three jobs in the house, but they're all minimum wage,
And you got the kids working too.
yeah, you're still only bringing $30 an hour in California back then.
Sheesh.
Three jobs, that is not really enough to live off of still.
Yeah.
Those types of laws, being a prosecutor, it rubbed people the wrong way, even though I think her heart was correct. But then the debate was where her heart was correct, because in that same interview, she laughed and she was saying that she, with the swipe of a pen, could lock somebody up for 2 weeks and then she could change her mind out of nowhere.
Bruh, when I was practicing as a public defender and I'd watch just how flippantly the DAs would talk about some of my clients that were kids and adults, man, it is infuriating.
Yeah.
Infuriating to watch them talk about this person as if that they're just the worst person on earth. And the people that I represent that were adults were behind on child support.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they were involved in their kids' lives. I think one of the things that people have an issue with Kamala was AG during the time that my mom worked for the California prisons.
Oh.
And there was a lot of people were being locked up for nonviolent offenses, and Kamala was not signing off on people getting out.
Wow. That's real.
You see what I mean? So the prisons were overcrowded and dangerous, and those were dangerous positions. And my mom was a nurse in the prison. You know what I mean? So when you have like a connection on that level of her policies as AG created unsafe conditions in prisons because she was not letting out nonviolent offenders. So people can say, you know, oh, she didn't lock people up for marijuana and stuff like that, but she had the power on opposing cases.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When people are trying to get released and her office is opposing those cases for nonviolent offenders. Yeah, man. It puts things in perspective, and it's like, for me, as a criminal justice advocate, as a social justice advocate, as a juvenile advocate, right? My challenge to people is look at Kamala Harris's record on going after bad cops.
Okay.
a lot of people when they're talking about like Trump versus Kamala, they're like, oh, Trump wants to give more immunity to cops. And in a sense, you really can't do that because he's federal. And most of the immunity comes from state cases.
Yeah.
However, Kamala Harris, where's her record of going after police officers?
Okay.
What's the difference between giving an officer immunity and not prosecuting officers when people's civil rights are violated?
Not too much of a difference.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very easy for somebody to say, oh, Trump wants to give more immunity, but the person who literally had the power and whose job it was to enforce the law in court
Basically gave
them the same thing. And
Yeah.
it's, how do you know? You mean to tell me California has a long history of whooping people's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Going upside people's heads.
Yeah.
Long history, whether it's LAPD, Oakland PD, SFPD. Now, mind you, I ain't talking about the bad police officers, but if you were an officer who watched that kind of stuff go down and you didn't say something, you just as bad as the officers who were doing it. When there's a culture of that in police departments, what else can you
Yeah.
you as a police officer, you know the union's going to protect you, your department's going to protect you, and then you don't have to worry about the DA's office or the Attorney General's office investigating. Man, so for me, I don't have issues with Kamala Harris because she's a black woman. I have issues because of her policies and how she's utilized her power.
Correct.
And then once again, the Biden administration has been, I think, the worst towards crypto. If I had to compare it between Trump during the 2016 to 2020 versus 2020 to 2024.
Yeah, correct. For sure, without a doubt.
You know what I mean? You know, I look at those kinds of things when I'm looking at presidential candidates, and at the end of the day, all we're voting for is the actual electors anyway. We're not actually voting for the candidates, but just the simple fact of why the policies are so important is because if you don't address the policies, then you won't be able to know who she might appoint into these particular positions.
Yeah, and I want to go on record as saying that I believe that Kamala Harris is the most qualified candidate for president in the history of candidates. I want to go on record as saying that I don't believe that she's unqualified at all. She went from passing law school, passing the bar, being general attorney to district attorney, something like that.
An ADA
attorney general to
district attorney
to
to
U.S.
attorney general,
senator
to U.S.
to
senator.
vice president.
Yep.
I don't think there's ever been in the history of America anybody who's more qualified. It's just, she was also an extremely effective prosecutor. I don't know if I want that in the White House. Somebody who's that effective, that enjoys to some degree locking people up, because she said it. If you watch that interview, there's a certain joy that she gets from it. She said it on multiple occasions. And even though she's talking about violent offenders and certain things, there's a certain amount of power that I could just tell that she likes to have.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I feel comfortable with that.
I would feel comfortable if she went after cops too.
Yeah. Let's equal the playing field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you're a vigorous prosecutor.
Yeah.
I'll put it like this. When it comes to somebody that I feel is going to be a criminal justice advocate, I see a Marilyn Mosby.
Okay.
Not a Kamala Harris. Marilyn Mosby went after bad police officers in Baltimore.
She did. I love her.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Kamala Harris didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Big difference.
Big difference.
Yeah.
So I agree with you in the sense of, hey, passing the bar is not an easy thing. Becoming a DA is not an easy thing. Becoming an attorney general is not an easy thing. Becoming a U.S. senator is not an easy thing. It's been funny to me. It's been funny to me that Michaela Montgomery, shout out to my cousin Michaela Montgomery. What's up, cousin? When I'm gonna see you at the cookout.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see you at the family reunion.
Yeah.
She said, how can Kamala Harris care about black families? Ask Willie Brown, Willie
No,
Brown's
as
wife.
Miss Willie Brown.
Ask Mrs. Willie Brown.
Yeah.
And I just think, man, you know, if she was having an affair, don't a lot of women have an issue with women who have affairs?
I tend to stay out of the personal business, but that's definitely worth a question.
I mean, Trump got in trouble for grabbing people by the vagina.
They put that out there, and that was a private conversation that,
So I'm saying, like,
yeah,
what's fair game?
politics, I feel like it's all fair.
What's fair game? So if we're
Yeah.
going to be honest about it, okay, from a value standpoint, if you're going to call Trump someone a rapist or a sexual assaulter, right? Then what's the issue with calling Kamala Harris a homewrecker?
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
That's very
And I'm
fair.
just so once again, that's just being objective about the situation of no politician is perfect.
Correct.
And in spite of being heavily qualified, you're going to have your faults. In spite of not being necessarily as most qualified, there's still some redeeming qualities. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So we didn't switch from crypto and got deep into the
But
politics.
because I know I've seen some of your videos where you were talking about this being like one of the most polarizing elections we have. Literally, your video, you broke it down so well. You were saying that this election is going to be wild and that you hope that he was convicted.
Yep.
And that you wanted to see how America was going to handle this, because you can't have a Democratic Party claim to care about
Criminal justice.
while then demonizing Trump the way they're doing. And then the Republicans, you can't say that you're
Pro law enforcement.
and then have Trump is like the most polarizing election
it's
ever.
Polarizing in hypocrisy.
Correct.
Oh, the police are racist, the police are racist, or the police will go after people, and this, that, and the third, and that we need to reform our justice system, and our justice system is crooked. But all of a sudden, then it works against somebody that you don't like, and now it's a great system. Then on the same hand of the Republicans saying that our criminal justice is fair, system is fair, and blah, 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 but then it works against somebody that you like, and now all of a sudden it's crooked.
Yeah.
Which one is it?
Correct.
On both sides.
Yeah.
So, I want to see how America handles it.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it's okay if you choose a side, right? But at least be aware of, at least be objective, right? We talked about that earlier. You can have your bias, but be objective.
Yeah.
I'm
Correct.
biased. I never thought that in a million years that I'd actually be considered voting for Trump.
Correct. Because if you had said that in
2020?
16,
Or 2016, yeah.
I would have never. Because when he was talking terribly about Obama, I took that real personal, because as a black man, I see a piece of myself
Yep.
in Obama. And it wasn't that I liked every single policy. It was that he made us look good.
Yep.
He made us look extremely good.
Yep.
He came out there, he was charismatic, he had a beautiful black wife, he had 2 beautiful daughters, he never embarrassed us. And so for somebody to go after his birth certificate, for somebody to say he was a terrible president and all these crazy things, I took it very personal. But I think as time has gone on, I'm seeing he also attacks Hillary, he also attacks Joe Biden, he just attacks, because that's how he operates. I'm not taking it nearly as personal now, because I realize he just goes after everybody equally.
Bruh. Okay, let me get this together. Cool. Bruh, now we go. Bruh, we have talked about all these presidential candidates that have stances on crypto and blockchain and Bitcoin. And man, give me your final thoughts.
Final thoughts. So last election, I did vote for Kanye. Made a whole podcast about it. This year, do I want to go third party or not? I like RFK. I love that he's a pro-Bitcoin guy. However, I feel like third parties don't win, and I like to be a part of a winning team. I think Trump has championed Bitcoin. I feel very good about that. I love, like you said, Montgomery. She's come out very strong, HBCU grad, and she makes a lot of valid points. And Kamala, I don't really know what she stands for yet. And so as of right now, I'm definitely leaning towards Trump, which I would have never said in 2016. So it still feels kind of weird to say that, but as of right now, final thoughts are I'm leaning towards Trump, but we have until November, so we'll see where that goes.
I feel you on that. I feel you on that. Funny that you say 2020 was the first time I got to vote for myself in an election and vote for Kanye West.
Yeah.
And people look at me crazy when I say that I voted for Kanye.
Right.
They look at me crazy. And it's, in 2020, it was like I wasn't voting for Biden at all.
Correct.
And Trump, I couldn't really pull myself to vote for Trump because of it was either Mr. Mass Incarceration or Mr. Mass Deportation.
Yeah.
Right? And I really didn't like the way that he handled some of the things at the border. However, now talking with people who have worked on the border and when they talk about the family separation, some of that was fronts for human trafficking.
Wow.
So those kids really didn't think about it in this way. Somebody's just saying that this is their children, or somebody is being told that this is, or being trained to say that this is my dad or this is my mom.
Wow. I never thought about that.
Because who's coming over with birth certificates? Who's coming over with
Correct.
documentation?
How do we
You
know?
get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just finding out that perspective of things, put things in a different perspective. But once again, there's still a way to handle things, right? So that was 2020. Now, having experienced the Biden presidency and having experienced a Trump presidency, I like RFK too.
Yeah.
I like RFK too, and I'm kind of in the same boat. If I do an ideological vote, I'd be voting for RFK or even Cornel West.
Yeah.
Right? Or Cornel West. I like both of them. But from a perspective of, I would much rather see Trump win than Kamala win.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? And that's just from a perspective of who's going to make sure that my money is taken care of. I feel more confident with Trump, but I never thought that I would be saying this, I never thought that I'd be seriously considering it. Like you said, November is still a little ways away, but it's looking that way for me. And prior to that, in 2016, when Trump was elected, I was in D.C.
Yeah.
I won money off that election.
Wow.
I predicted that Trump was going to win.
Wow.
Yeah. I predicted that he was going to win the primary.
Yeah.
And people were like, "Oh, he's just in there, to help Hillary." I'm like, "Nah, he's in there for himself, bruh."
Yeah.
I made money off of that.
Nice.
And I made money off of the election in 2016. So it would be nice to see Kamala Harris come out with policy, but at the same time, who'd ever thought that a convicted felon and a prosecutor would be running against each other for the same exact office?
Yeah. It's interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And shout out to my cousin, Michaela Montgomery.
Yeah. Look, we want to work with you. Look,
We want to work with you.
Both of us want to work with you.
We want to work with you. We want to work with you. And I'm going to be like, cousin. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah. But, man, this has been great. I hope this has been great for y'all. In fact, I know it's been great for you guys. And we're going to keep dropping this information and keep dropping hits on y'all. So, thank you for tuning in to Genius and Smart Guy. All things politics, tech, culture, and particularly crypto.
That part.